Hi, my name is Charlie and I'm a music composer for films, games and experiences. Sometimes we already have video and then I start looking at the video and like what kind of movements are there, what kind of materials do I see, like what kind of, and then I think of just random like parameters like, okay, the music should be soft or something, and then I link it to like a certain synthesizer sound or like an instrument, or like for example if you have a piano and you put like a muted panel, it sounds more soft or like more warm, and certain chords they sound more warm. So like I take all of that information, like even like when you see certain colors or something, and then I try and make like a first sketch from that, but nothing is said, but it's just kind of taking all the information. Like I have a lot of techniques that I use and a lot of like musical background, so I take all of that, but I don't really think about it so much, but I just take it and I make something that I think fits that first draft. But then if I don't think it fits, then I change it, you know, like I start molding it until I think it works with the image. It's always a fine line between, you know, I feel like, especially in the beginning, sometimes you get there for like 90%. And then like creatively, it's just like making sure everything is exactly in the right spot, like mixing it better. Maybe you have some moment where you want to have like a really big impact. Maybe you were doing 2 impacts and then it takes the attention away from another impact or something. So, need to take that out, you know? It's like really curating what you've done. But that's just for me, because there's always other people involved, you know? So we're working as a team here, you know, for example, and then they're gonna have an opinion about it and they're coming with ideas as well. And then I take those in account and I like re-listen to it, and then I see if I also think that that's a good option for the audio. So then I can tweak it a little bit more. Or we have a client that says, oh, but it sounds warm, but it should sound cold actually, you know? So then I'm like tweaking it. Like mostly for a lot of projects, like we work on almost everything, we work on it together and we have our strengths. Like for example, I'm good in keys and like I play like synthesizers, you know, with keys. And then so for that kind of stuff, like I'm very quick in like doing a little demo or doing like adding something. But for example, Pedro, that also works here, he's very good at guitar. So whenever I need a guitarist, I'm like, oh, Pedro, do you have time to work? And then if he has time, then we go into the studio and he records his ideas on top of my idea, and then we send it together as a track that we collaboratively made. It's interesting, like if you say like where does your heart, like I guess the core of everything was what I started with. You know, it's like playing piano. Whenever I want to relax myself, I just sit behind the piano and just make something up at the spot and just improvise and just find something that I like, and it just for me, I'm enjoying it, you know. Entertain me in all the different things that I like to explore, and I like to experiment with different things that I can do with audio or like with music. So for an experience it's really different than for a game, but it triggers me in a really positive way and I get a lot of energy from that. Also that it's so different. Mm-hmm. But I think in the core, I'm like, that's my piano, you know, like it's never gonna go away. But then I just have so much passion for electronics, for computers, and like also processing and digital and synthesizers, that I like to think in systems with music, and it's just kind of, it's almost like my hobby to do that, you know? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and also conceptually, it's always fun to think of something or like a limitation that you can do for a certain project. So you can only use this kind of sounds, you know, only sounds that you made in a certain recording, or like, you know, only or a certain instrument for everything, like those kind of stuff. I like to do that, to put like some limitations. One project that we did with Endfood is called We Are Playgrounds. It was for a festival, an animation festival. It's in Eindhoven and in Berlin. It's called the Art Department. And we have a partner, a company called Buck, and they made all the animations for it, like some kind of like when you come up on the stage, you see all of the titles from everyone, like all the names of everybody that's gonna speak there, and they made like some really incredible animations for it. And then we got to make the audio for those animations to give them like even more liveliness to them. That was a really fun project that we did. And then they came with a concept about different phases that you go in when you're an artist. So like you start exploring and dreaming about a certain concept. Then in the middle of your process, you start experimenting, like doing a lot of things and like trying things out, and it gets a bit messy. And then in the end, you refine everything. And it also really works well, this concept, for audio as well for us. We try to use that also in audio. So we started also with thinking of a dreamy, you're not doing something concrete, but you're more like in the zone of like creating something. Mm-hmm. Then you start really experimenting, like doing everything within that concept that you want. So the sounds get a little bit more messy, a little bit more fun, a little bit more joyful. And then in the end, we put everything together to create the title sequence and the end projects that we made for this festival. So like we used their concept also in audio. Yeah, so what we really liked to use very organic sounds and sounds that, for example, like came from an instrument sound, like a recorded instrument, so like an orchestra, a violin or a piano, and then processing those into things that sound a little bit more electronic. So, but it still has the character of the original recording in it. So, for example, I have a little piece where I played some piano, and then I processed it and layered it with some synths in that you can still hear it's the piano, but it's not the main thing of that gesture. Mm-hmm. And another example is, for example, I had a recording of an orchestra, and then I used some processing techniques, so it sounds like it's a brush stroke. Uh-huh. So it's not like it's the sound of a brush stroke, but it's not. It is the original recording was an orchestra, but you don't hear that anymore. But it's just some little hints in it that still refer back to that original recording. Actually, the collaboration part, it worked kind of smoothly. We all made our things, and then in the end, we just got to create whatever we wanted from there. We just made a big pool of like a library for ourselves, like with all the sounds that we created with 4 people. And then from that, we created all of the sounds. So that I think that went smoothly. I'm just thinking, well, like what went a little bit more difficult? I guess it's always a challenge when you have like this big stage and we create all the audio here, but you want to have it sound good when you're there as well. So that, I think that was our biggest struggle, because we didn't have that space. You know, we didn't have the big space and the time to go there and really tailor it to that specific location. But we managed to do it in the end. Like we got to see it in the sound check, and you have to envision also like what does it sound like when you're in such a big room.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, there's more to watch.